So there's three experiences that I really want to spotlight today. We call them our night experiences. So we've got a jazz night, we've got a choral music night, and we have a reggae night. And these are all focused on going into somebody's home for an intimate live music experience. So it's like, I always think of it like if I'm going to go to Dakar in Senegal, or if I'm going to go to North Korea, one of the things I would love to do in North Korea is go into somebody's home, a musician's home, and listen to some North. Have you been on Spotify and tried to find North Korean music? You can't, right? I want to go to North Korea and go into the home of a musician and hear a live performance and eat some North Korean food. This would blow my mind. This is what we do. And it really does. It's like it's mind expanding to have an experience that is so intimate. It's a little bit scary to travel to another country and go into the home of someone you don't know. And most likely in a cultural context that is unfamiliar to you. And so the magic is that you're dealing with vulnerability, right? So that unknown, there's a kind of a magic. When you go to a nightclub or a music club, everybody's been to a live music venue before. You know what's going to happen. But when you go into somebody's home, you don't quite know. And that's the real magic, apart from the fact that it'll be great music and great food and you'll have conversation, and it's a very unique and special experience. So the jazz experience, we've been visiting jazz musicians in their homes in different cities for more than 20 years now. And we were running reggae experiences a very, very long time ago. They were more complex, late night things. Now that everybody's a lot older, now that I'm a lot older, I shouldn't say everybody, now that I'm a lot older, I'm like, 2:00 in the morning is not the time to be at the dance hall. So we found another way to do it. So for the reggae night, we go into the home of somebody who was in Jamaica when Bob Marley was emerging, who knew, because they're no longer with us, but who knew Isaac Miller, who knew Peter Tosh, who knew Bob Marley, who can tell stories about the emergence of reggae. And then we bring it to where we are now in Cape Town, and we have a reggae artist perform in Alan's Lounge. We have some food. If it's choral music, we're going into the homes of either Cape Malay choir, Cape Malay choral singers, choral groups, or we're going into the homes of Isxhosa gospel and traditional choral groups. And when it comes to jazz, we're going into the homes of well-known jazz musicians, Hilton Schilder, Maya Spector, Eldred, like you're going, Hilton is a legend with some 50 albums to his name. Oopsie, sorry. So, this is, it's a very enriching, very, very special set of experiences. And the idea is that as a visitor, when you do this, you get a level of access, and especially if you're self-driving yourself around the country, you're kind of isolated in a sense. You don't have a tour guide who can open things up to you. You've got a set of maps and you've got a set of things that you've booked on the platform. But now suddenly you're in somebody's home and you're having a meal that was cooked by that family. And that is a very powerful way to get a perspective on the place that you're visiting. I mean, over the 20 odd years that we've been doing this, the most consistent feedback is we spent a lot of money and stayed in some of the highest level safari lodges, $6,000 a night to see the gorillas in Rwanda, all of this. But the experience that stayed with us the most was the experience of being in the home of that musician, hearing the stories that musician had to offer. And you know what it is? I don't know if you've been to the gorillas in Rwanda. Doesn't matter, the gorillas or even a big five in Kruger National Park. The setup of tourism in sub-Saharan Africa is observation, right? And because most tourism is geared towards the animals on the continent, the mindset, the approach to tourism to sub-Saharan Africa, no matter what you're doing, because of the way that it works with animals, is to observe from a distance. And so when it comes to engaging with the human fabric on the continent, that's the way that tourism by default engages with us. It is by observation from a distance. Now, suddenly, when you're in the home of a musician, that has to fall away because it's no longer possible just to sit and observe. You're in somebody's home. you're sitting on their furniture. You need to pee, so you're going to have to ask for the bathroom at some point, you know. And you're eating food and you're enjoying the food, and so you kind of you can't even help yourself but go, oh wow, this is delicious. What is the story behind this, you know? And so the default approach falls away, and there's a human connection. And if you know anything as a traveler and you're coming to visit this place, if you know anything about the histories that have shaped us politically, socially, culturally, and ecologically, disconnect is the economic basis for everything that happens. Now, suddenly in tourism, you have an opportunity to connect. It's so basic. I mean, connection, it's such a basic, fundamental thing, but it's such a big deal because it's the most broken part of us. So suddenly in tourism, in this experience, there's this moment of human connection. And it's honestly just like, not everybody has the time of their lives. There's always people who should not have booked the product, right? If you don't like jazz music, walk away. If you don't like choral music, walk away. If you don't like people, walk away. But if you tick the boxes for all of those things, I like people, I like music, and I'm open to a little bit of vulnerability. It's crazy how, and I continue to be surprised. You know, this is coming from my mouth. Don't trust me. I created these things. Don't take seriously a word that I say. But as somebody who's interested in storytelling and who kind of started this whole thing as an approach to try and address a problem, I continue to be amazed, even for me, when I go and I visit these musicians just to reconnect with what's going on. I continue to be like, wow, this is so great. I love going to a concert in somebody's home with musicians who are, you know, these are really good musicians doing original music. To hear somebody's original expression, this is a rare, beautiful thing. And in the age of what we're experiencing right now with the acceleration of the worship of machine-generated realities, the human thing becomes that much even more poignant. To have a human experience today is, for me, and I use AI tools, I'm not complaining, but I find to have a humanizing experience in a place that I'm not familiar with, you can't put a price on that. Yeah, I think firstly, like kids love this, right? Because they're still early in the phase of conditioning, so they don't come with a lot of judgment. Beyond kids, the best demographic I would say is probably 30 or 40 plus, curious. So it's not about a language group necessarily, or an ethnic group, or a national identity. I think it's just like people who are curious, and typically people who are a little bit older, like people in their 20s, probably not so much. And that's possibly more to do with economics than age, because these are not inexpensive products. You know, this is not a dinner at an average restaurant, right? You're talking about $250 a head. So this is, you need to have discretionary income for this, and you need to be committed to putting down the cash and not sitting there and every moment of the experience assessing the value against what you've spent. Those are not the people that appreciate this. But I think, yeah, people who are curious, who love music and who are curious, and that's kind of a little bit beyond age and any other parameter. Kids absolutely love it because it's music, so they get pulled into it. But typically 30, 40 plus, curious, that's probably the best description. It really depends on who's booked for the night, but if we're going on the reggae experience, that one is always in one fixed location, which is the home of Alan, and Alan is in Higovale, which is really, it's high up on the slopes of Table Mountain, an incredible setting that he has over there. And then sometimes Maya Spector, and she's actually very close to Alan, she's in Tamboerskloof. And then there's Hilton Schilder, who's out in Parow North, which is about 25 kilometers from the historic center, where probably most people are staying in hotels or guest houses around Sea Point, Bantry Bay, Cape Town CBD. And sometimes it could be Aldred, who's in Wynberg, which is in the southern suburbs. It could be Sheila Tempe's place. She's in Googs, which is about 30 Ks out out of the city center. So it's spread. It reflects the diversity of lived geographies in the city. Nobody else is doing a jazz or a reggae or a choral music night, so that's the first thing. There is no other similar product out there. And then the second thing I think is that as you say, like Cape Town, especially, perhaps it is the best destination on earth for a rich diversity of travel product. It is mind blowing. You can e-bike over Chapman's Peak. I mean, that's a wild experience. You can do a Big Five marine experience on the ocean with very serious people, you know, like with conservationists. You can do, I mean, through to this level of cultural engagement. So, I mean, I think everything is here. So I think the differentiation is that nobody is doing what we're doing, which has its benefits, but it also has its disadvantages. It would be great if there were more, because it makes this kind of product genre or tourism experience genre, it puts it on the map a little bit more if there's more people doing it, right? But that said, I think the second most important part of it is it's a very intimate human engagement, and I think that there are a lot of people who are looking for that. And I think a lot of people would frame this within authentic travel, and I would caution against using this word authentic, because it kind of starts to create these distilled cultural memes of how people are supposed to be. And then when you arrive there, they are not like that, then suddenly this is inauthentic. What would be very authentic is I arrive at your place to have an engagement with you, and you're in a bad mood because you had a fight with your girlfriend. That's really authentic. But that's not the authenticity that people are looking for. They're looking for you to perform your cultural stereotype meme, right? So authenticity, let's just be cautious of that. But I think vulnerability is what we are really working on. I think that's the magic for tourism, not just for us. I think as an approach to tourism around the world, especially in this era that we're living through, the opportunity to deal with the unknown a little bit and to open yourself up to things that you just are not sure how to deal with just yet, that provides a space where a really enriching experience happens for both, for the musicians who are hosting and for the visitors. Imagine if you're hosting a group of people that you don't know in your home, right? You just know maybe where they come from, but you've got no idea what's going to happen that night. And that in itself is a magic. We got the food right and it's ready, and the music is right and it's ready, and there's energy tonight, so we're good. We've got those three holy things. But what's going to happen with the mood of the people? Who knows what kind of a day they've had when they arrive at your home? And you as the visitor, you don't know what you're going into because you've got no idea apart from maybe what you've seen on the internet. And that, I would love to see so much more uncertainty in this sector that we play in. And not the uncertainty of what are the markets doing and will the world shut down before my flight is. Even if you've got clients in America at the moment, half of them are not able to leave just because of weather shutting down flights, right? So there's uncertainty, but I'm talking about that personal uncertainty of what's going to happen this evening. That's the magic. And I think as a tourism experience, I don't know if there really are other tourism experiences that work in the same way with that texture. And that's where a lot of the magic is. A jazz night, a reggae night, a choral night, they all run for 3 hours. They start at 7 and everybody's dropped back by 10. So collections would be between sort of 7:15 and 10 past, so like a 25-30 minute window, and then everybody's back by 10. So it's a 3-hour experience all in all. Everybody has to have a meal at some point in their stay, and they typically are going to have a meal in that time window. So here you go, you're going to get a meal, you're going to be in somebody's home, you're going to have an intimate musical experience. It ticks all the right boxes. I would say, how many hours have you driven today? It's time to take a rest. Pull in. You're going to get see this as your evening rest stop before you put your head on that hotel pillow. You're going to have a great nutritional and what do you call it? A meal that will sustain you, and you're going to have a human engagement that will sustain you, and you're going to have a musical experience that will enrich you. The initial spark was working as a journalist and being very frustrated, a music journalist in particular. I mean, I would never encourage my children to become music journalists. And, imagine right now, there is no journalism full stop anymore. Back then, there was journalism, and culture and music journalism was the piece that was slowly disappearing. So I was a music journalist for a while. And at the time, so this is like 25 years ago, 26 years ago. At the time, musicians, a lot of the releases, especially in the jazz world, the releases were really weak. Like the albums were not being recorded with a lot of intention and attention and awareness and love. And because of being journalists writing about these musicians and having developed personal relationships with these musicians, we're really aware that these recordings were not up to scratch because we knew these musicians. And so how it really started was, the musicians have got recordings, they're not great, but also they're struggling to get gigs. Like, there aren't really gigs. And in Cape Town at the time, and it's not a whole lot better now, actually, not only was there not enough work to sustain musicians, but even getting to the gigs in a city that doesn't have great public transport, where the majority of musicians are living in areas that are on the periphery with not good access to infrastructure, it was really tough to move around. And so the idea came up of, well, what about if we took the gigs to the musicians in their homes? It solves the problem of them having to move, and transport is a big cost, and it's a really challenging, piece of an evening gig. And then also that the family would prepare a meal, which means, that's another revenue stream. So they could perform a concert, get paid for that, prepare a meal, get paid for that, and they don't have to move. So we've solved several problems with one pretty good solution. And so that was the starting point. And then also looking at the tourism canvas and going, this is very interesting. If I look at a map issued by Cape Town Tourism 25 years ago, the map showed the city going down southern suburbs all the way to Cape Point. Then the middle of the map was largely blank. And then you'd have Durbanville, Stellenbosch, and surrounds. But this piece where all the musicians lived, or the majority, which is called the townships in the Cape Flats, is unmapped, as if we're Dr. Livingstone in 1800. I don't know the dates of when Dr. Livingstone was around. But this was like a striking realization. We're living in a modern urban center, and tourism has unmapped the biggest and most important cultural resource of the city. How is this even possible? Now, 2026, it's highly mapped, and tourism authorities such as Cape Town Tourism have done some amazing work to spotlight and develop tourism products in that previously unmapped area. So we've seen some really fundamental shifts over there, which is amazing. But back then, this was a crazy idea to go at night into the homes of musicians. That's too many variables, and tourism is not a fan of variables, for good reason. It's complex logistics. The more variables you add, the more points of failure you create, right? And tourism, failure and vulnerability are not liked in tourism, because you're dealing with people's dream vacations. You can't mess up somebody's dream vacation. This is like producing somebody's wedding. It operates at an unnecessarily high level of potential pain, right? And so the trade initially was very wary of this idea of going to somebody's home at nighttime in Cape Town like crazy, until international press picked up on what we were doing. And then suddenly the New York Times writes a piece about it. Time magazine writes a piece about it. National Geographic writes a piece about it. And then tourism goes, oh my God, we've always been needing things at nighttime for our guests. This is amazing. What an opportunity. And it's this thing that as I think it's a particularly South African phenomenon. We need affirmation from outside for something that we have as a resource here. Before we really understand it and think that it's of value, We need somebody from outside to come and point it out to us and tell us how great it is. And then we go, aha, yeah, cool. So we see that phenomena play out continually, even till today. It's part of our collective trauma. But that was the starting point. We were trying to solve a problem, and it's been a good solution. It's the longest running set of musical experiences on the continent. Um, the cultural scene, the creative sector, there's always a need for ways to generate income opportunities, to create gigs. I mean, America talks about the gig economy, but that's also just a race to make sure that the person delivering the gig is the least paid, while everybody else takes the biggest cut, right? Ours is a different gig economy, where there's real value for the musicianship and the artistic output. I think that's a lovely thing to be a part of.